Hey, you want to have some fun? Imagine writing a dystopian novel, a story set in the future or an alternate reality where things are ugly, deadly, and destructive of rights. Now imagine it's real and it's a few months away, because it is, if Bernie Sanders becomes head of the Senate Budget Committee as he imagines. Hi everyone, I'm Gardner Goldsmith for MRC-TV. Yep, it happened during a Little Scene live group chat with numerous reporters and left adherent host John Nichols in conjunction with what the nation called Nation Festival. When presented with the possibility that he, a hero of the underclass who owns 3 homes and has received a fat paycheck off taxpayers for decades, could be picked by future Emperor Kamala Biden to be, and grab the nausea pills, the Secretary of Labor. And where is that in the Constitution? Bernie Sanders opined on the possibility of something more powerful. He noted that if the Democrats can win the 2 disputed Senate races in Georgia, it would mean that Sanders, the avowed Democratic socialist, i.e. socialist, would be, he said,
I'm in line to be chairman of the Budget Committee, not an unimportant position, and the chairman of the subcommittee on health as well, etc.
Because, as we all know, the U.S. Constitution, which he swore an oath to protect and defend, includes in its short list of enumerated powers the magic ability to redistribute money from some to others for health care, and includes telling hospitals and health insurance companies how to run their businesses. Oh, and then there's the little factor of the U.S. government claiming in its wonderful 1996 HIPAA law that it can collect your medical data at any time without a warrant. Surely Bernie should run a subcommittee that's helped pile all of that on us already.
Let's expand it to everybody.
He'll undoubtedly deconstruct the torture device so we can live freer, said Mr. Sanders.
There's a lot that we could do in the Senate. There's a lot that one could do also as Secretary of Labor. So we'll see how things unfold.
If you want my Sanders impression, if you want to cut back and forth. Unfold. I think unravel might be the more appropriate term. And on the subject of terms, it's educational for the long term to look at his statement and see the key phrase, there's a lot we could do. Because actually, if one reads the very limited list of so-called enumerated powers claimed by the feds in the U.S. Constitution, there really is not a lot that he or anyone in the federal government could do or is supposed to do without completely breaking his or her oath to abide by that rule book. Bernie might not care, or he might claim that the so-called General Welfare Clause of the Constitution or the Necessary and Proper Clause give him and his wealthy pals the power to pass anything they claim promotes the general welfare, but the founder specifically noted that they were including only the enumerated powers to promote the general welfare, and that Congress was only allowed to pass legislation that was necessary and proper to handle its enumerated responsibilities. As David Crockett noted in his famous 1830s Not Yours to Give speech, he learned early in his congressional years that the feds had no enumerated power to give money to people to so-called help them battle natural strife or the troubles of life, not to build roads, not to pay for food or drugs or retirement or college tuition, or on and on. And as one can continue the list of federal programs, they see that Bernie and others have created a monster for decades.
I don't want to get people very nervous, but Social Security is a socialist idea. Medicare is a socialist idea. Those beautiful national parks that millions of people visit every summer that we are so proud of, beautiful parks, socialist idea.
Besides that, if one logically looks at the term general welfare, one sees that welfare is subjective and can only be measured by each individual. Therefore, the general welfare cannot be objectively defined by a state, but rather must be left up to the individuals to decide for themselves and expressed through their choices in the market. In fact, by threatening to make anyone a target of government taxation or regulation, the feds undercut the welfare of all, putting everyone at risk of being a victim. How does living under the threat of being victimized help your welfare or anybody else's welfare? And this all comes from the guy who, by the way, on his Magic Bernie website, promotes not only insultingly unconstitutional ideas in a manner that reflect his absolute hypocrisy when it comes to his sworn oath, but also programs that would be so destructive as to push the U.S. society and economy closer to that of the Soviet Union he used to love so much.
I was impressed by their friendliness toward Americans. And they're really wanting, hopefully, to work with us, and their excitement about this summit agreement and their hope that out of this will come a closer relationship with the United States.
Impressed or surprised as well?
Both impressed and surprised.
These include his devotion to the so-called Green New Deal, which not only refers to FDR's New Deal, something that prolonged the Great Depression and made it much worse, but promotes the delusional idea that the feds should dig the debt pit by another $93 trillion to, as Bernie says, transform our energy system to 100% renewable energy and create 20 million jobs needed to solve the climate crisis. I try to avoid sounding like Bernie as much as possible, but for you, I'll do the Bernie. I know. Because since it's such a good idea, it has to be forced on people. And then there's his idea to have the feds provide so-called Medicare for all. Create a Medicare for all single-payer national health insurance program to provide everyone in America with comprehensive health care coverage free at the point of service. No networks, no premiums, no deductibles, no copays, no surprise bills. No freedom. Yeah, because single payer is not only right there in the U.S. Constitution, and it's not just really moral to take cash from some to hand it to others. Government payments inspire higher use by the recipients, driving up costs, which inspires the government to put caps on payments to doctors, which in turn inspires doctors to restrict their services and cut back on quality. Stories of the UK National Health Service and its abysmal single-payer system are so numerous one could spend days reading separate accounts. And the problems of the Canadian system were so apparent that when I lived there in 1996, the British Columbia government was going to try to control costs by telling doctors how many people they could see per day and how long the visits would be. Oh, and by the way, the BC government was also going to choose which maladies would take precedent per day for the visits. But hey, what can one expect from Bernie Sanders? This is the man who has openly praised Cuban communist dictator Fidel Castro.
Everybody was totally convinced that Castro was the worst guy in the world, that all the Cuban people were going to rise up in rebellion against Fidel Castro. They had forgot that he educated their kids, gave them health care, totally transformed the society. You know, not to say that Fidel Castro or Cuba are perfect. They are certainly not. But just because Ronald Reagan dislikes these people does not mean to say that the people in their own nations feel the same way. So they expected this tremendous uprising in Cuba. It never came.
Who in 1988 vacationed in the USSR and on camera sat beneath a portrait of Vladimir Lenin, a man responsible for thousands of executions, and sang Soviet songs, as well as wonderful Pete Seeger drivel, and then praised the murderous Soviet communist system, mere months before the system would crash and the Berlin Wall, built by the Soviets to prevent Germans from escaping their wonderful collectivism, crashed as well. And this is the guy who openly praised Venezuelan communist dictator Hugo Chavez, whose policies of seizing farms, auto plants, and oil fields and accumulating power in central planners' hands saw his disciple Nicolas Maduro continue the dumb, evil policies and create mass starvation, such that people have been seen reduced to eating stray pets in Caracas. But hey, why worry?
You know, it's funny, sometimes American journalists talk about how bad a country is because people are lining up for food. That's a good thing.
The possible future under a budget committee chairman Sanders has got to be very bright. It's just like a story from a kid's book. Like the Hunger Games. Hey, thanks so much for watching, everybody. Keep reading. And remember, please visit MRCTV.org to find out what the whole team is doing. I'll see you inside the comments section on YouTube. Please like and subscribe and share the videos as much as possible. You know, sometimes on social media they suppress things and it gets really difficult. So we rely on you as being part of the team, and it sure is great to hear from you. It's very encouraging. Also, if you want some great items, go to MRC-Store. That's MRC-Store. You can see wonderful gifts that you can get for folks for Christmas time. I'll see you on Facebook. I'll see you on Twitter as well. I'm at Gar Goldsmith. And if you want to find me on Gab, it's at Gardner Goldsmith on Gab as well. For MRC TV, I'm Gardner Goldsmith.